Yasmeen. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to our virtual event today, Challenges Facing Muslim Families in the West. This is Amr Shafiq from Ayat Ilm Academy. I'm happy to be the moderator of this event today with Ustadha Yasmeen Youssef. Just before we start, inshallah, let me introduce to you our academy in brief. So Ayat Ilm Academy is a non-profit organization based in Canada, but offers its services worldwide. The academy aims to provide the Muslim with both the basic knowledge and specialized knowledge of Islamic studies and Sharia. We currently offer 3 programs. So the first thing is the main program. It's a program-based learning. So in which we offer a diploma in 4 academic semesters. In this diploma, the learner learns about the 7 main disciplines of Islamic studies: Quran and Ulum al-Quran, Hadith, Aqidah, and Fiqh, and the Arabic language, the history and Seerah, history and biographies, and the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, and Tazkiyah. So all those together in every semester, we learn in a kind of a scaffolding approach to build the basic knowledge, the necessary knowledge for the learner as a Muslim. This is one program. The second program is Learning Arabic as a Foreign Language, TAFL. We offer one of the programs that is unique. I didn't find any other place offers a program like this in North America. So I think you may like to try it. We have professional trainers, professor in the field in TFL. So we take you from like no prior knowledge of Arabic language to level A2 according to the European benchmark of languages. The third program we offer is a huge variety of courses that can be selected based on a course-based learning. So you may just want to learn about fiqh, about Sharia, about Aqidah, so we offer that as well. We have different courses. And alhamdulillah, now registration is open for the spring semester that is starting by the end of February. So you may like to give it a try. In addition to all of that, we always have different workshops. So inshallah, we're trying our best to serve our community here in Canada and worldwide. Going back to our event, let me introduce to you our speaker today. We have Ustadha Yasmeen Youssef. Ustadha Yasmeen is the founder and chief content creator of Salam, a well-being program based on faith and science. She is also a published author, instructional designer, and a trainer. So without further ado, I will leave you with Ustadha Yasmeen. And inshallah, she will lead the session. If you have questions, you inshallah direct them directly to her, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Amr, and thank you so much for the people who joined us on the first day of the new year. So I'm really excited to be with you to share a few like a little bit of information about the program that we jointly, Salam and Ayat Ilm Academy, will present to you, inshallah, for the Muslim families. So allow me to share the screen with you here. And for some reason, we cannot activate the chat feature, but if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and ask your questions. And at the end, inshallah, we will have a Q&A session as well, so feel free to keep your questions until the end as well. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thank you for having me. It's an amazing opportunity for me to share with you some of the strategy that the Salam approach offers for families in general and Muslim families in the West in specific. So our program that we're gonna be offering, inshallah, is called, or I changed the name of the meeting or the session today a little bit to shy away from just the challenges of the Muslim family to the good life of the Muslim families. And we'll talk about why I chose this name today for this session, inshallah. So a little bit about me, but it's not for the purpose of getting to know me, but for the purpose of knowing how Salam as a program came to exist. Through my education in the fields of teaching and positive psychology and emotional intelligence, as well as gamification and human development, and all related to training and development, I developed a huge respect for what teaching and training can do for people to raise their well-being and to provide them with opportunities in life. And through my work, I used to work at the corporate office of a hotel management company here in Canada. And our work was in the learning and development department, and we focused on the human development of the employees of the company. So here, I was able to apply my knowledge of training and development into action to help people and develop programs that help colleagues with their well-being. So I had the tools and I had the experience, but then I was missing a purpose. I was missing what can the tools do to improve the well-being of everyone, not just the employees at the company that I was working for. And that's where my volunteer work came in place, where I joined different causes for local and international global organizations such as UNICEF and other organizations worldwide and locally in Canada. That's where I was introduced to the depth of the human misery. You get exposed when you work in, human rights or anti-radicalization or, any other field of volunteering. You get exposed to disturbing statistics about the status of the human being today. Depression rates, statistics about violence, about addiction, about suicide, and so many others that really show us the depths of human misery. That's when I said, I want to put together a program using my expertise and my education for, to help reduce this misery of humanity. And I wanted really to develop a well-being program that's based on both faith, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and specifically in his most beautiful names, as well as science. So what can we learn from humanities that fields specifically, or namely like the positive psychology field that I'll speak to you a little bit about today, as well as emotional intelligence as a very important field of study for the well-being of everyone. So that's how Salam came to exist. And I'm really excited to partner with Ayat Al Academy to offer a program for the Muslim families, specifically in the West. And there is a reason I chose the word good, the good life of Muslim families. And I didn't, for example, choose the word great lives of Muslim families, or the happy lives of Muslim families, or the successful life of a Muslim family. And there is a reason for that we will get to, inshallah, to speak about. So we are speaking about the good life. So according to the Salam approach, or before I introduce to you the Salam approach and speak about the program that we will be offering in partnership with Ayat Al Academy, I wanted to show you the foundations of Salam as a program, because I speak a lot about the unique approach of Salam and the unique methodology of Salam, but we need to understand, first of all, what Salam is based on. So Salam is based on three foundations. The first is positive psychology and emotional intelligence. And a big piece of the program as well is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and specifically in his most beautiful names. And we will speak briefly about each piece to understand how these pieces, these big pillars, can help us as spouses, as parents, as individuals, to really improve our lives. So positive psychology is concerned with answering the question, what makes life worth living? So at a time where, traditional psychology focused in the past on what goes wrong with the human being in terms of diseases, interventions, medications, what can go terribly wrong, positive psychology researchers and scientists started to focus on what goes right with the human being. How can we live happy lives? How can we set goals and achieve goals? How can we, understand and develop our strength in order for this human life to really flourish and, have all the positivity in the world. So that's why I shied away from the topic of challenges, because to have a full life, you need to both, of course, take care of problems and challenges, but also to build capacity and build strength as well. So our program, inshallah, is going to be comprehensive in that sense. So these are some of the famous people in the field of positive psychology. Don Clifton was one of the grandfathers of that science or field of study. Martin Seligman is the father of positive psychology. He started to study what goes right with the human being. He wanted to study happiness, and then and actually created that authentic happiness theory and wrote a book about that. And then later, he decided that happiness is a word that is often used and misused and abused, that we don't know what it means anymore. And happiness is hard to measure. And that's why we cannot develop. So anything we cannot measure, we cannot develop. So he started to want to study something that's more concrete. And that's when he started to study the good life or well-being. And we'll come to towards this, towards a closer understanding of this concept as we develop our argument today, inshallah. Shani Kaur used to be a happiness researcher at Harvard. So he's literally looking for happiness or searching for happiness. And he has his own firm as well now for, talking about topics about positivity and happiness. He insists on using the term happiness. However, he redefines happiness in ways that we will get to understand through the course, inshallah, to see how can our families, our spouses, as parents, as individuals, how we can apply these concepts to improve our well-being and satisfaction of life. So the third pillar that we talked about is emotional intelligence. And in emotional intelligence skills, in order to give you an example of them or to get you to understand them closer, I would like for you to think of someone who inspired you, someone that you consider a role model, someone that impacted your lives positively. And because we don't have the chat open, I would love for you to raise your hand or just, unmute yourself and tell me why this person came to mind when I asked you about a person that inspired you. So what made this person a role model to you? What made this person inspiring to you? So you can unmute yourself. It can be a teacher, a parent, a community leader, an uncle, a spiritual leader, but it has to be someone you know already, not a historical figure or a public figure. So someone you know in person. So anyone who's ready, you can just unmute yourself and tell me, this person inspired me because 1, 2, 3. Anyone? Should I start picking people, or are you able to unmute yourselves? I hope individuals, like everyone, can unmute themselves. Dr. Amr, can I pick on you? Could you share with us some insights about a person that inspired you and why?
Yep. Okay, so I'm very affected by my mother. So she inspired me a lot. And if I say why, because she was very active in her life with the community as a family member. She likes to focus on education and activism, and I think I got those from her.
MashaAllah. So she was active, she cared about the community, she inspired you to be active as well and to be proactive and to take action and, to try to fix the world around you. And I can certainly attest and witness that. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Ram. Anybody else would like to share anything? You can unmute yourself and share with us who and why. So we're still talking about emotional intelligence skills. And the reason I asked you this question is because when we ask people to identify someone who inspired them and someone and tell us why, so they tell us not only the name of the person, but they tell us why that mattered. They always talk to us in terms of emotional intelligence skills. So they tell us that this person inspired me because they were patient, they were funny, they were kind and caring, they showed tough love, they were forgiving, they were generous, honest, they listened to me, they supported me, they were active, they supported the truth or wanted to protect others' rights, they mentored me, they were patient. So there's a huge number of qualities that matter to us, and we pick our friends, we appreciate people in our lives based on those skills and qualities. So we don't really care much about degrees. So you don't pick your friends based on their PhD or master degrees or whatever. Yeah, of course, that's something nice to have, but you would rather have a caring person, a compassionate person as a friend, someone who supports you, someone who believes in you. So those are called the emotional intelligence skills, and they are very, very important. And I think as I speak, I hope you were able to imagine the importance of applying, having and acquiring and developing and applying those skills in the lives of spouses and parents, and even relationship with friends, with family, anyone that you have a relationship with, I'm sure you can start to imagine how important it is to care about others, to support others, to be proactive, to communicate, to be self-confident, and so many others. These are the things that we call emotional intelligence skills. So we'll be working so much with those skills as well, because they can really improve the lives of spouses, as well as fix the problem or help them fix the problems that they face. So with Salam, what we're going to do, so these are the 3 pillars of the programs, or the foundation of the methodology of Salam: positive psychology, so science, emotional intelligence, and then faith, which is exemplified in the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his most beautiful names. So the good life. So now we come back to the principle and the word good. So if we want to talk about the good life of Muslim families in the West, then we have a number of keywords here that we need to define. So the first word is good. So again, we talked about the good life, the well-being, and the concept that Martin Seligman developed, which is al-hayah al-tayyiba. And the word good in Arabic, tayyib or tayyiba, is a very, very beautiful word. So it means so many things. So for example, if you're referring to a fruit and you're saying that this fruit is tayyiba, it means that it tastes really good and it's delicious. And you can also refer to the fruit and saying tabat or here tayyiba, meaning it's fruitful, it's mature, it's ripe. So it's again beautiful, but also ripe. So there is that sense of completion, sense of maturity. And also good in Arabic is the opposite of khabith or corrupt or rotten. So good really means pure and beautiful, and all these meanings all together in terms of goodness, in terms of being ripe and mature, in terms of being delicious and enjoyable and memorable. So really our focus is going to be on the good life, because al-hayah al-tayyiba is more important than a happy life. Happiness can be is an emotion that come and go and can be momentarily there and can disappear in another, but the good life, al-hayah al-tayyiba, can join us and can be with us inshallah for a long, long time. Success as well is linked to things like can be artificial, like wealth and strength and power and education. But so success can really reflect values that do not represent happiness and well-being of the human being. So that's why we use the word good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that that al-hayah al-tayyiba has foundations, and that those are the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the activation in that belief in the form of action or good deeds or righteous deeds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, so these are the 2 conditions, being a believer and doing righteous deeds based on that belief, we will surely cause them to live a good life. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. And we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do. So the big life, really, or the good life, al-hayah al-tayyiba, is a huge field of study for us to understand how to live good lives, how to live with balance and peace, how to live lives that are memorable and enjoy high levels of satisfaction of life. And then we have the word life. And to understand life, we will depend a lot on science, on a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, and what he told us about life. We will depend in our methodology on some of the philosophies that do not contradict Islam as well. So we will try to understand the concept of life to the fullest and to the best of our knowledge in order to live a good life, inshallah. And of course, we have the Muslim qualifier or identifier here, which presents us with a huge opportunity, but also challenges. So the opportunities of being Muslim, alhamdulillah, and the methodology and the Sharia and the books and the guidance that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the guidance that we have from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but also to be a Muslim, especially in the West, today's world, and especially in the West as well, that comes with a lot of challenges. So, and that for families as well can cause some issues and can cause some challenges that we will talk about, and will present us with opportunities as well. And we will talk about, of course, the concept of family and what makes a strong family, what makes a good family, inshallah. And of course, in the West, it will present us with some unique opportunities as well as some unique challenges. So we will be focused, inshallah, on all these concepts to dissect really what it means to have a good life as a Muslim and as a family in the West, inshallah. But we realize that when we speak about families, that's spouses, and maybe there are kids or not yet, but we cannot really speak about the family before speaking about the spouses as part of this family and the relationship between them. So the course will focus on the relationship between the husband and wife, but also we understand that we cannot speak about the husband and wife in a marital status without speaking about the individuals, every human as an individual first. So you are of no use to anyone if you have not built yourself first, and if you have not reach some peace within you before you can contribute to the lives of those around you, whether they are friends, whether they are spouses, whether they are parents or kids or whatever. So that's why in our approach, we will focus on the individual well-being and how it leads to the well-being of the family, inshallah. And we understand as well, and that's what I'm presenting to you or proposing to you, is that if we want to care about the family, then we were not necessarily talking about the family first. We're going to talk about relationship to self, because it impacts the relationship to family. And we're going to talk about relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's where you as an individual will get all your values or your manners or your ethics or your rules and laws about right and wrong. So we're going to, inshallah, understand ourselves in light of relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how to apply that in our relationship to others, and specifically in the role and capacity of husbands and wife. And that is the formula of winning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Asr, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So everybody is in a state of loss, which we want to avoid. So except for those who have believed, done righteous deeds, advise each other in truth, and advise each other in resilience to follow that truth. And that's really, if your life is that kind of a tree, then relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the roots of your tree, because that from where there you get all the rules or the principles or the values where you can apply in relationship to yourself in forms of your own inner values and strength, and you do righteous deeds based on that, and then you go into your roles in the society, whether you're a spouse, a parent, a son, a daughter, whatever it is. That's where you carry this truth and be resilient in spreading that truth around you. So our approach is comprehensive in the sense that it starts from relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to fix our relationship to ourselves, and then to apply that in your relationship to others in general, but specifically our examples, our case studies, our discussions will be around the role of, or your role as a spouse. So we start from relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, apply the strength and values and principles to the relationship with self, and then take that to your role as a spouse, inshallah. And in that understanding, we starting from you as a person, a lot of people, they don't really learn much at schools about themselves and about how to be good individuals and how to have balance and peace and how to regulate their thoughts and emotions and how to build their beliefs and value systems and how to build their EQ skills or emotional intelligence skills. And it's not until they are in their 30s or 40s or 50s or even older when they start to read self-best books and human development books and join human development programs. So we're trying to focus on how important it is to build our personal brands, to build us from within, our beliefs and values, our emotions, how to help us with our regulating emotions and thoughts, and build EQ skills, emotional intelligence skills, in order to help us finally for all this to be transitioned into our behavior. So your behavior with your spouse, with your kids, is really the sum of all this, everything that's inside you. That's why it's important to build that inner world first before we can focus on what to do and what not to do with your spouse or with your kids or with anyone around you, because really the roots of all your opportunities and all your issues are going to lie within you before they exert themselves in the sense of a behavior. And the reason why we focus so much on the belief and value system as a guide to all the other elements is that because beliefs and values really inspire us on a daily basis, and every second of our every day, they trigger our emotions, and our emotion trigger our actions. So take, for example, this photo. If you see a homeless person on the streets, so that homeless person, your reaction towards that homeless person, so your behavior, will depend on how you feel about this person, and how you feel is going to depend on how you think and what beliefs and values you hold. So for someone who believes in compassion and mercy and people helping each other, this person, when they see a homeless person, they will feel sad and empathic towards them, and that will move them, will generate the action of wanting to help them. But another person who is driven by the ideas and beliefs and values of hard work and working hard for your money and not wanting easy money in life, when they see a person like that, they will be triggered, or the emotion that is going to be triggered is the anger emotion, because there is a person sitting there, bodily able, and he is asking for easy money. So that anger might cause them to behave in an aggressive way, saying to them, like yelling at them, or just telling them to go find a job or to get lost, or go work for their money. So that this example exemplifies how beliefs trigger our emotions and how our emotions trigger our actions. So that's why when we study the Salam approach, we will be working with building our belief and value systems and understanding how we can regulate our emotions, so that in every situation, with your spouse, with your kids, with everyone, really, you can trigger the right emotions and regulate your emotions, so that you can, behave in the right way and have the best results of that situation with your spouse or with your kids or whoever it is that you're dealing with. And that model of beliefs and values that we offer is going to be based on Allah's most beautiful names. So we'll be studying a lot about Allah's names, and we will understand how the belief in Allah's names can really help us shape our values and help us regulate our emotions and help us regulate our behavior. So according to the Salam approach, there are 12 groups of Allah's most beautiful names, based on, they are classified based on the common themes among the names in each group. So if we go to the English names, I just wanted to show you the Arabic. If we go into the English groups of names, we will see that, for example, the compassion group, that's, the second row to the middle. So it encompasses the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala: Al-Rahim, Al-Wadud, Al-Ra'uf, Al-Shakur, Al-Hamid. So the exceedingly merciful, the forbearing, the loving, the gentle, the thankful, the kind, the praiseworthy, the generous, the considerate. So imagine when we study those names, and then we start to talk about your relationship to your spouse, and then how we can apply what we learn from those names into this relationship. Take one example, for example, Allah's name, Al-Shakur. So the thankfuls, and thankfulness is different than gratitude. So thankfulness means you express your gratitude. Sometimes we're grateful, but we don't say anything. So thankfulness is different. So imagine if we take the concept of thankfulness and then we apply it to your relationship with your spouse. So being thankful for everything your spouse does and to express it in words and in actions. So a concept like that, when we introduce it, so we bring it to life, but we also give you an opportunity, and that's what's most important. We give you an opportunity to talk about it after the session as a family, because what happens is that in our daily lives, we don't really have time to talk about things that matter, things that will improve our lives. But now here comes a session weekly that introduces topics and gives you the opportunity to talk about them so that you can understand where your strengths are as a family and where your challenges lie. So maybe there is a shortage of thankfulness and gratitude in the family between spouses. So now it's your opportunity to, make an action plan and to, put actions that you will do on purpose to thank your partner. So الحكم السليم, for example, or sound judgment, al-hakim, al-rashid, al-haq, al-hakam, al-muqsid, so the judge, the source of justice, the wise, the all-wise, the truth, the equitable. So those names as well will provide us with so many opportunities to talk about being objective and rational and to seek the truth instead of just being biased based on our own emotions and so on and so forth. So again, the course itself, the sessions are very important, but what's really more important is for you after every session as spouses to sit together and talk about these concepts and see where you're not being rational maybe, or where you're biased, they're not seeking the truth and that kind of stuff. So it is that opportunity to talk about the topic after the session is what matters. So again, other groups of names like renewal, for example, the group of forgiveness and new beginnings, al-Ghafur, al-Afu, al-Tawab, al-Ba'ith. So such beautiful meanings. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who pardons, is a forgiver, is the exceedingly or repeatedly forgiving. So that will present us with the opportunity to talk about the quality and the value and the quality of forgiveness and new beginnings and, excusing others and forgiving ourselves as well and dealing with the emotions of guilt and such and so on and so forth. So this is just a presentation of how the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be applied. And of course, we will talk about each name in relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in relationship to self, and then in relationship to your spouse as well, how the belief in that name will take your marriage and your relationship to your spouse to really great levels, inshallah. So what we're gonna do is, let me see if I can find the annotation here, the arrows. For some reason, I can't see that tool either, but it's fine. So where we're going to start is always with the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his most beautiful names. From there, we will draw the values: forgiveness, kindness, thankfulness, rationality. These are some of the examples we gave. And then we discuss together how we implement those as EQ skills, emotional intelligence skills, in the life of a spouse, husband and wife. And, what are the guidelines of that? What are the guidelines of forgiveness? What are the guidelines of justice? What are the guidelines of rationality and all that kind of stuff? And then apply that into our behaviors in relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ourselves and to our spouses. And the more we practice those EQ skills, activating those values, that belief, activating it into the form of righteous deeds, al-Iman, Amal Salih, then we assert the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his most beautiful name. So it goes in a cycle that we start with the belief, we draw the values, we turn them into emotional intelligence skills that are tangible, that are actionable in our lives. We are guided by the names as well. And we apply that in relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, self and others. In our case here for this program, it's going to be spouses. And the more we practice, the more our belief is affirmed. So this course really, you can get so many things. You can get the spirituality that you need, understanding the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his most beautiful names. You can get the belief and value system that you need to take any action in your lives, because it's triggering your emotions all the time and guiding your behavior. You can build your EQ skills. You can apply that to your relationships, specifically to your spouse. And then, so you, inshallah, hopefully you get so much from that course. So the program topics, based on what I just presented, because we want to leave a space for questions or answers. So if you imagine that your life is like a garden, a garden has to take care of a garden and to have a good garden, you have to do, to deal with problems, and you have to deal with opportunities. So it's not enough to just, take off the weeds and kill the harmful insects and to put chemicals to clean the soil, whatever. So this is taking care of problems, and that's amazing, and you will need it. But you also need to plant the seeds, and you need to water the seeds, and you need to take care of the seeds in order to have a beautiful garden, beautiful fruitful plants. So this is the focus of our course, inshallah, when we talk about the Muslim families in general and in the West specifically. We'll talk about the two dimensions, one of fixing problems and resolving conflicts, but also the one that's very important as well, building capacity and setting goals of life and reaching the goals of life as well. So we will be talking about personal brands and value systems, because that's, believe it or not, who you are as a person is, you need to build that first, and what you believe in and what your values are before you get married, before you can treat your spouse the right way, before you can treat your kids the right way. This is the root. If we talk about the tree, once again, it's the roots for your tree. We'll talk about acquiring the EQ skills, so that the values that you built or you are trying to build in your brand and your identity, how can you turn them into action? So that's emotional intelligence skills in your life, so that when people see you, your spouse can talk to you about you, for example, and say, oh, my husband is very kind, he's very caring, he listens, he supports us, he is compassionate, he's forgiving. And you can say about your wife, you can say, oh, my wife is very helpful, she is a unique individual, she is caring as well, she listens to me, she supports us and the whole family. So how can you turn the values into EQ skills? We'll talk about that. Setting life's goals. And it's very important for us in families to understand that, of course, it's important for the family to have the collective goals of the family, what we want to do as a family, but it's also important to not to lose sight of individual goals, what each member, the husband and the wife, want to do as individuals and what their goals are as individuals. You don't need to sacrifice your own personal goals in order to fit in the goals of the family. So that's why we will be talking about setting our goals personally, individually, and collectively as a family, and how can the husband and wife as well support each other, inshallah, to set and measure and achieve those goals. Of course, a big piece of our course is understanding and managing emotions, because once again, imagine any discussion that you had with your spouse, any conflict that you had with your spouse. I'm sure you can realize and admit that high intensity of emotions can really damage that relationship. And later, when you're rational and more collected, that you regret things that you said or things that you did. So that's why we need to understand our emotions and understand how to manage them and regulate them and harness them, so that there are tools in our toolbox that can help us really improve our conversations and improve our interactions. And finally, as well, one of the big topics is conflict resolution. That will really benefit from everything that we've built. It will benefit from who we are as people, what our values are, what our EQ skills are, what my goals in life are, how I regulate my emotions. All this ties in the conflict resolution topic as well. So in order to live a good life, and for the family to have a good life, then we need to work together to build our value and belief systems that will help us regulate our thoughts and our emotions, and also improve our relationships, namely to our spouses in this instance. And of course, we need to take care of our personal goals and the family goals. And we'll do all this through the EQ skills, which is the application of belief into action. So we can say whatever we want to say about what we believe in, but if we don't apply them, then in our relationships, then it's, there is no point of speaking about them. So we can talk about how kind we are, how merciful we are, how forgiving we are. But if we don't apply that in our relationships, then it doesn't really matter. So we invite you to start your 2022 with us, joining us through this program, where inshallah we'll focus on how to really lead good lives as individuals and as spouses. And of course, that inshallah will be reflected as well in relationship to our kids. But the parenting course will be coming later, but we'll focus in the first program, inshallah, on the relationship between the husband and wife. So the spouses. So at this point, I wanted to open it for any questions and turn it back to my brother, Dr. Amr, and see if you have questions. We don't have the chat open. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself and share your thoughts with us.
Jazakumullah khairan, Ustadha Yasmeen. I encourage everyone, if you have any questions about the program, inshallah, we have enough time to discuss.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Ayat Al Academy for presenting us with this opportunity, because for the longest times we were just focused in the Muslim community on, hifz and tafsir and Quran, which are very, very important, but also to work on ourselves and our relationships with our spouses and kids. This is really very generous of you to organize. So thank you.
Jazakumullah khairan. I actually have a kind of a reflection here that, subhanallah, I have seen many families here. I have been in Canada around 10 years, and I have seen many divorce cases in Canada. And subhanallah, many of them, they had very stable life before they come to Canada, and then they just, I don't know what happens, right? Like you have kids, you have, like a man and his wife, like they have been married for 20 years. They're it's not a short time. Like you don't just wake up and you figure out that, oh, my wife is not qualified to be a wife, or the vice versa, of course, right? So there are something wrong, right? And sometimes we think that maybe because the life here in Canada, maybe if the same family go back to their whatever, the country they came from, they could be able to cooperate more. Maybe here we focus on ourselves, right? There are so many questions that I think people don't have answers to, right? And I have seen people trying to help people, other people, to fix the relationship, and the other people actually broke the relationship afterwards.
So, yes. It's really a huge topic, and that's a challenge of not really just living in the West. It's a challenge of moving from your comfort zone, from the culture where you have set beliefs and set values and set expectations, and then you move to another. So even some people, if they move to a different role in life, like get a better job and get more money, for example, they will probably come to different conclusions because they get aware of again, so it's all about my thoughts and beliefs and expectations and who I am as a person and what I deserve as a person. If that changes in any circumstances, whether it's moving to another country, whether it's whatever, that's why it's very important before people make the decision to get married is to build who they are so that they know who they are and what they want before they go out there and, link their lives to someone else with all their dreams and identity and values and everything else. So that's why it's important to, if people hit a rock bottom or hit the wall, we need to regroup and we need to talk about these topics and give them the opportunity to, rediscover the lives together. Because, I know that divorce is horrible, but what's horrible as well is people living together with no pulse, no passion, no commonality at all. So we really want good homes and good lives that can, have generate us healthy individuals in the society and healthy kids as well.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that one of the main problems here is that we don't really know ourselves, as you mentioned. Just a kind of a reflection on what you said. So sometimes, like I'm talking about myself now, just being honest. So sometimes, you know, you get nervous and you just become like a different person, and you realize afterwards, like, is that me? Like, you know, did I really do that, right? And many of us, we think that we are just perfect. You know, I'm an ideal husband. You know, you are an ideal wife, and you know that there is nothing more I can do. But no, you know, sometimes we're gonna be in difficult tests that we're gonna figure out that we are not that person that we think we are, right?
And I love what you said, because it just reminds me of how important it is to rely on the comprehensiveness of Allah's most beautiful names, because then you have something to measure yourself against. You can say, oh, one of Allah's names is mercy, the most merciful. Am I being merciful towards my spouse? And then you can check, yes, I am. And okay, what's the proof? What is it that I do? And if not, what is it that I should start doing? And again, like forgiveness, for example, being loving from Ism Allah al-Wadud. So how am I showing my love, gratitude and thankfulness? How am I showing thankfulness? So that's why I can say whatever I want about myself. I can think what I want about myself. But if I don't have the formula, the blueprint of what a perfect the best I can be is, then I can't measure it and I cannot improve it.
Yep. So it's there is a balance here, right? Sometimes we think of, yeah, I just need to be just, but the mercy is not in the equation, right? Sometimes you are so merciful, but we need some sort of justice as well, right? And
yes, of course.
And our understanding of the concept of justice is not even, could be, you know, biased, right? So justice,
absolutely,
like, as a man, I think, right? But right, like if you thinking of your wife, you know, if you have a daughter and you like she will be a wife one day, would you accept that or not, right? So
absolutely. And think about all the discussions that just, you know, raising these topics during the sessions. Think about all the discussions that will follow that will be very healthy for the husband and wife to have about, you know, what's our understanding of justice, what's fair, what's not fair, so that they come closer and come together to, you know, the home, that the image of the home that they want to live in, inshallah.
Yeah. So would we say that, can we say that, for example, like in this course, inshallah, people can have some sort of a blueprint or a checklist or something that is doable, is practical. It's not just philosophy, it's not just, because there are so many of that, right? So
absolutely. Let me, while you're talking, I just want to bring up one of the presentations. I think I might have it only in Arabic, but it's only images. That's what I care about. So I'll show it because it's the tool that's a perfect question. Let me see here.
And we still invite those who are attending with us, inshallah. If you have any question, feel free to raise your hand or just unmute.
Yes.
I'm just trying to learn from Ustadha Yasmeen as much as I can.
Allah yajzik al-khair. Allah, oh no, we learn from you, mashallah. So what's going to happen is, with every group of names that we study, when we study when we are building our value system, we have what's called a heat map, and we have tools for self-assessment. So after each, so we have the 12 groups of names. And then with every group of names, we will have a self-assessment in relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, self and others. So for example, forgiveness, I will measure myself on forgiveness. And for example, I'll rate myself on a statement that says, I never remind people of the mistakes that they did in the past, for example. So we know that, you know, as spouses, we keep reminding our spouses of what they did in the past and when they hurt me and when you said that to me and when she did that to me. So I'm going to rate myself on all these statements and give myself a number. And based on that number, we will have 3 buckets, one for relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, self and others. And I will give myself, based on the assessment that I gave myself, the number, I will put it here, whether it's going to be green, meaning that is strong, if it's above 20, for example, out of 25. And if it's weak, depending on the number, it's going to be in the middle, so medium, so it's going to be in yellow or orange. And if it's really bad, so relationship to others, they don't forgive others, they keep reminding others of their mistakes, and so on and so forth, it's going to be weak in red. And then after that, I will have that heat map where I put the colors, only the colors, not the numbers. So at the end, when I finish the entire assessment of all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the values I draw from them, I can end up with something like that, where I can see at a glance where my strengths are, my weaknesses and my opportunities lie, and the things I need to draw attention to. So it's going to be, after that, of course, we will do an action plan based on that self-assessment. Did I pause the recording? Oh no, I thought I clicked on something. So yeah, so we do self-assessment, we understand the topics, we study the topics, we discuss, we do self-assessment, we mark our heat map to see where we are at, and then we action plan based on that. So every week, the wife and the husband, they will go home with the homework of sitting together and action planning together, individually and together, to improve themselves on whatever we talked about, whether it's the forgiveness, for example, element, or whatever it is.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think it's like kind of a mix of quantitative and qualitative together, right? Getting like some numbers, eventually giving that kind of a heat map, or to know where you are, and that's really amazing. I have another question, if you allow me. So
sure.
So if we say, for example, a person like a man, or he think that he want to improve himself, so he come to the course, but his wife is not really interested. Would that work or not?
Well, I really hope people come together to this course, because that means that both of them are willing to take that action to improve their lives. However, I have to get out of the couples program for a second here, because at the end of the day, we're going to be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala individually. So when you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of your journey, after a long life, inshallah, and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you about what you did, not what about your spouses did. So for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not ask you about your spouse, but will ask you, were you merciful? Were you kind? Were you caring? Were you forgiving? And you will get points for that. So that's why the logo or the motto of Salam is becoming the best version of yourself, realizing that everything starts with this self, and the only thing that you have control on is yourself, and the only thing that you can improve is yourself. And then this is the self that is going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be judged. Now, if your spouse doesn't attend with you, and then but I am sure that if you improve the way you treat your spouse based on the concepts that you will learn, inshallah, then you definitely something good will come out of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to idfa billati ahsan. So you just treat people well, and you have the opportunity to even turning your worst enemies into a close friend. So if we can do that with our enemies, so hopefully with our spouses is going to be an easier task. I hope so. But I really hope that the both of them come together. If not, definitely if you improve the way you treat them, they will, inshallah, in return, they'll come around and they will do something as well about themselves. But a great question.
Jazakumullah khairan. Yeah, that's perfect answer as well. Jazakumullah khairan.
Thank you.
Last call for questions, inshallah, if you have any.
Going once. And I hope people know that they can always send their questions after, or I'm sure there is a means of communication somehow.
Yeah. We have our Facebook page, Ayat Ilm Academy. Hope you guys like it, and you can, inshallah, ask questions there. We always answer, inshallah. Also, Ustadha Yasmeen Youssef, she has his web page as well. So you can also ask her. She always answers the question. So
inshallah,
she's
yeah,
active
thank
on
you.
social media. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her. So feel free to always contact with us. And if there's no other question, I just leave the mic with you for a last word, and inshallah, for conclusion, inshallah.
I have a question, Dr.
Oh, sure, Dr. Ashraf.
Sorry. So can you, I have two questions actually. One is, can you reflect more on how do we apply the model that you discussed it in details on a sample of issues or problems between the two spouses and how it can help in this manner.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
The second one, maybe if you can give us more details about the course that is about to start and the topics in it and how it goes and how many times per week and these things.
Sure. So I think the second question you be the best to answer, or Dr. Amr, because it's mainly logistics. So by now I understand it's once a week and it's an hour a week for 16 weeks. That's the spouses program. And the first question is if we want to apply one of the concepts, for example, the concept of emotions, managing or regulating emotions, for example. So that topic is very, very important in the sense that if we talk about conflict resolution, for example, that's the topic of regulating emotions is very, very important and relevant to the topic of conflict resolution. Managing emotions is very important because the moment there is a conflict, and the conflict is coming probably from a clash of values, a clash of beliefs, a clash of perspectives, emotions heighten and people get angry, and that can accelerate really quickly. So when we talk about, for example, Allah's name, the truth, al-haq, al-hakam, al-hakim, and we talk, so the all-wise, and we talk about the importance of rationality and objectivity in discussing any topic, and we talk about this in a very scientific way, as well as the emotional or the spiritual way, then we talk about the tools of how to manage your emotions, and we talk about the tools of rationality, and we talk about the obstacles of seeing the truth in a very scientific way, and that will help us, inshallah, regulate our emotions in conflict, for example, as one example. And then when conflicts happen, sometimes you need the value of forgiveness in order to, resolve the conflict or get over what happened during the conflict. So really all the pieces come together, but of course every session, and we will be talking about a specific topic, and then we will have the cases from the audience as well as examples from other from the audience and from other case studies and stories as well, and then we can apply the different concepts to that particular scenario, so that we don't leave a topic unless we really understand how to apply the concepts to, inshallah.
Dr. Ashraf, does that answer your question?
Yes, jazakumullah khairan.
Okay, so inshallah we can go for a final word, inshallah, from you.
Inshallah. Okay, great. So once again, I just wanted to thank Ayat Al Academy and Dr. Ashraf, Dr. Amr for this great opportunity. It's not that often that we see within our Muslim community, we see a desire and actually an action to improve ourselves and improve our relationships and apply the concepts of our faith into our relationships. And there is a huge disconnect between what we believe in and what we do. And that's causing us problems with our spouses, with our kids, in our relationships, even at work. So I think it's about time that an organization like yours shoulder the responsibility of offering such a program. And I really hope we get the attention of a lot of people who want to improve their lives, inshallah, to reach the good lives of الحياة الطيبة. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقنا وإياكم إلى ما يحب ويرضى. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير.
Thank you. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.